So take us back almost 30 odd years, like childhood. Can you talk to us a little bit about growing up? What was it like for you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Indonesia originally. So I grew up in Perth. So I came to Perth during my high school time. I was around 12 years old.
Okay.
And then spent a good 10 to 15 years in Perth
Mhm.
before moving to Sydney. So I reside in Sydney now.
And what year was that when you were in Perth? Like that would have been in the 90s, did you say? Or
Probably the year 2007 to 2015.
2007? Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. And so you're in Sydney now.
Mm.
And so talk to me a little bit about like mum and dad, money, like the financial side of things. Like what were your influences growing up?
Mom and dad, I'm very grateful where I grew up in terms of mom and dad. We all don't have the perfect family, but I'm very forever grateful for what they have done for us. Talking about money and investing, so
Mhm.
my parents, especially mom, they always plant the seed of being a good saver,
Okay.
right? Mom always teaches us how to save, right? But in the family, no one teaches us about investing. Yeah, that's the lacking
Yep.
part.
Okay, so as far as money's concerned, mum was teaching a lot about savings, but not so much about the investing side. And was this like you've got brothers and sisters as well? This is the whole family or just you or
I got 3 older brothers.
okay, so you're the youngest.
Yeah, mom wanted me to be a girl, I guess. So,
Okay.
but she stopped. Enough. 4 boys is enough for her. So,
Do you remember that comedian Fiona O'Loughlin? Have you ever heard of her?
you know.
Oh, she was hilarious. I mean, I think she had something like 6 kids or something.
Yeah.
And her motto was, I'm just going to keep trying until I get one I like.
And didn't happen? Or?
No, apparently not.
Thankfully, mom stopped. Because she has 7 grandsons now.
Yep.
7 grandsons in 2 years.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
No
All right.
girls.
All right. So you're
Anyway.
getting some good saving habits from mum.
Mm.
Now, what kind of kid were you? Were you the naughty kid always getting in trouble? Were you the good kid always doing the homework?
I'm a mix. I'm always strive to be high achiever,
Yep.
but I always get distracted. You know, when I feel I've done well, I get distracted, and then I bounce back. That seems to be the pattern throughout my 30 years
Okay.
until now. Yeah, and I'm one of I'm very disciplined with saving as well. Growing up.
And so
That's right.
when you say you're very disciplined with it, does it still feel like discipline or to paraphrase sacrifice or does it just feel like that's how it is? I'm not going without.
Yeah, no, it feels natural. It feels natural to save.
What was the largest amount of money you saved when you were a kid? Because I still remember having $200 in my like little safe box when I was probably about 10 and I felt like the richest kid in the world at the time. Were you similar or?
Yeah, I had $50 when I was in year 10 or year 11.
Yeah.
And then our house got robbed, and then
Oh,
the
God.
$50 is gone. So I was really sad, but that's okay.
Okay. Okay, you laugh about it now. So mum's taught you some good savings habits.
That's right. Yeah.
You've started to get into investing later in life though, but you couldn't have got into the investing side of things if you didn't have the savings habits first.
Yep.
But parents didn't teach you that. Is there any other lessons? Because you talked something about mum house, dad BMW off air when we were chatting just before.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that story a little bit? Because I feel there's a bit there.
Yeah, this is something I will definitely tell my son. He's 6 weeks old now, but
Yeah.
I call it,
Congratulations, by the way.
thanks, Todd. Mom's property versus dad's BMW, right?
Mhm.
Or another way of saying it, I had a chat with someone else, another podcast. They call it rich mom, poor dad.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, long story short, basically in the 90s, mom came to Australia. This is back then when there was a big crisis in Indonesia and there's a lot of killings happening in the country.
Yeah, right.
I think the Great Asian Southeast Depression or something. So basically, mom tried to move family to Australia. So
Okay.
she bought a property in Perth. Perth is very close to Indonesia.
Yep.
Without my dad knowing, right? So
As you do.
pretty cheap, around 60, 70K. Pretty expensive back then, but it's not like in the millions. And then around the same time, dad bought a BMW, but mom knows everything, what's happening in the family. So long story short, they still have both of them.
Yeah.
The BMW is in our backyard and no one's want to take it for free.
Okay.
and the house, the one in Joondalup, it's in suburb called Joondalup in Perth. hundreds of people want it, and probably worth around $700 to $800,000.
So how old were you when that story really clicked? That you went, wait a second, there's money to be made here.
Yeah, so just mom, when mom and dad had argument about spending, and they do it out loud in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Mom always go back to this story, right?
Okay.
And the story has been repeated maybe 10 times throughout my life. So from when
Okay.
I was like in primary school, when I
Mhm.
was in high school, even when I at uni and until now, right? So at different stage of my life, I digested differently. When I was in primary school, I was like, oh wow, really? The house has grown like 5 folds or 10 folds, and the car is like nothing. So I always know that car is not the best purchase. It's a depreciating asset, and property is an appreciating asset. But I never really appreciate how it can appreciate
Mhm.
to such a scale, So,
So
um,
it feels like that's almost like a lesson that was indirectly taught to you.
definitely.
And
yeah.
something that I'm just picturing like little Richard right now, listening to mum and dad fight, not thinking that he's learning anything.
Let me close my eye and think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, but actually learning some incredible life lessons around finances.
Correct.
That's okay. And so now talk to me about moving to Sydney. So you ended up leaving Perth and you got a degree in engineering, mining engineering. What was it again?
Civil and construction engineering.
Civil and construction engineering.
Yep.
Okay. But then I remember you saying that you had a bit of troubles getting a job because everyone was like, you're going to be rich. This is amazing. But it turns out they weren't quite right.
That's right. So engineering was never really something I wanted to do. My first brother, my eldest, he did engineering and he did really well
Okay.
because he graduated when mining was booming, right?
Yep.
He was like on almost 200K, like first or second year of job.
Yeah, wow.
And companies actually look for him, not
Yep.
the other way around. When I graduated 6-7 years later, it's a complete different story. No one wanted me in Perth.
So you've just finished this degree
Yeah,
and you're like, I've got nothing to do.
nothing to do. I knock on the doors in an industrial area.
Yep.
I've got resume here. Got pretty good degree. Do you want it? And they're like, nah, we don't have works for you. So what happened is I ended up getting a free internship job in Perth, just to fill my resume, so it doesn't look like I'm not trying. At least it shows I have something in my resume.
Yep.
But I was doing nothing there. I was basically applying for jobs during that internship. Long story short, I got a job in Sydney, right? It wasn't the easiest journey. It's a funny story, actually. So in Perth, there is a place called Kings Park.
Yep.
If you've been there, it's basically, I think, the largest botanical garden in the world. Very well known. Perth is very well known for that. So I got this, I was using, in my resume, I was using my friend's Sydney address, applying for jobs in Sydney. So I increased my chance of getting a job.
Okay.
And then I got the phone calls after like weeks of trying. And then they called me. Sydney was booming back then in terms of, the state. They called me, hey, let's do for an interview tomorrow in Kings Park.
And you were in Perth at the time?
I was in Perth, yes.
Okay. And you're thinking, why are we doing interviews in the Botanic Garden?
Yes. I was so excited. I was like, yeah, let's do it tomorrow. Like I was so desperate for a job, right?
Yeah. And what year is this?
This was 2015, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So 8 years ago, roughly?
8 years ago,
Yep.
yeah. I said yes, and then they sent me the address, put it on Google Map. It takes 45 hours to drive.
So you're like, this is a different Kings Park.
This is a different Kings Park. Like, but if you want something, and this is me, if I really want something, I have to make it happen. So we book a flight, do the interview.
Well, you booked a flight straight away and were just like, I'm going to Sydney, but now, tomorrow, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Tiger Air when they were around.
I remember them. Yeah. Okay. And so then you get to Sydney, you hop straight on a plane, you arrive, you go straight to the interview?
Yeah. So I know, like, flight tickets was expensive for me back then, right? Because I was broke, no job, had degree, but no job. So I brought with me in my interview like 20 printout resumes. So while I did the interview and I want to make the best use of my time, I do the same thing, knock on the doors, drop my resume in all the area, right? And long story short, I didn't end up getting the job where I got interviewed in the first place, but I did see a very tall building, very old industrial building, and it's got a banner. It's called Kumar Construction.
Yeah.
So I know it's owned by Indian or somewhere there, and it's got big phone number in there, 04. And then that was my last when I was about to leave Blacktown, not Blacktown, Marayong. So it's a suburb called Marayong or Kings Park. And I thought nothing to lose. I'm just gonna send a text message.
May as well.
Yeah, saying, "Hey, I'm engineer. I'm looking for a job. Let me know if you're looking." And that's where I got the job. Yeah, my first engineering job.
So the one that you flew over for, you didn't get. But if you hadn't have flown over, you wouldn't have got another random one that was just because, well, I'm here, I may as well ask the question.
Yeah. So they took them 4 weeks, the original company that I was meant to go for. Took them 4 weeks. I got the job, but obviously I already accepted this other one, the Kumar construction one. Yeah.
Oh, so you did get the other job as well?
Yeah.
But they were just too slow on the uptake.
They were too slow, and I was living in my friend's place. And how long is a piece of string back then? I was looking at my phone every day. How come they haven't got back to me? And as soon as I got the other job, I take it, start making money, pay tax.
Mate, I like this. This feels like a real lemons to lemonade. And I feel that one of your big strengths, Richard, from all the conversations we've had is determination. There seems to be this underlying current that just exists in you of like, I'm going to do that if you set your mind to it. Whereas I'm sure a lot of people may have gone out of the degree of not getting a job for such a long time, going, maybe I just made a mistake. It's time to look elsewhere. Whereas you're going to the extent of, sure, I'll get on a flight and fly 5,000 kilometers when I've got no money on a budget airline to then go on sleep on a friend's couch just to make it happen.
Slept with him. So.
Yeah. Really good friends.
Good friend, yeah.
So Richard, determination is obviously a huge part of what I think has been like one of the ingredients of the recipe of your success. I don't know if that really flows, but
yes.
You know what I'm trying to say. But it wasn't always smooth sailing either. Like it wasn't just this, all right, I'm going to make it happen. Let's go to it. Distraction is also a big part of your story. And I remember when you first told me how this kind of unfolded for you and how things really started going off the rails, I couldn't believe it at first. I actually thought you were joking. So do you mind opening up a little bit about this, mate? And I guess, sharing that side of your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thought that's why I'm here. I want to open up my story, being transparent, and hopefully some people can learn from it and be inspired, right? Because that's how I got inspired from your podcast and other podcasts. So basically, I got that job, right?
Yep.
And that job is not the best job ever, right? I'm grateful for the job.
You said it was lower pay though,
very
wasn't it?
very low pay,
Yep.
child labor, 60, 70 hours a week.
Yep.
But it built my character. Right? It makes me a very hard worker, always want to give my best. And that sets me up for the next few career pathway. So because of that strong character, always become a strong performer. In my next 2-3 companies, I got very quick promotion within.
Gotcha. Okay.
So pay start doubling, tripling even.
All of a sudden you're on some good money.
All of a sudden I felt rich.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wasn't.
Okay. And do you mind disclosing like what were you on back then?
I think up to 150, 160, 170.
Okay, it's pretty good money.
Yeah, it's decent. I'm grateful forever for that.
Yep.
But I do not have mentor or direction or guidance of how to invest. And that's what was missing in my 20s. So I was earning decent, but I don't know what should I use those money for. So I ended up spending. Okay, so nice holidays, go snowboarding. I love the snow. But one of the worst spend I've ever done is, for lack of better words, gaming addiction.
Talk to me about this because I didn't even know this was a thing. Hence why I thought you were joking when you first told me this story.
Yeah.
How does this come about?
Yeah, so maybe just for those people who don't know, who's done like a mobile game.
Yep.
I don't know if you've done mobile game.
Basically, I have not.
There's all these games where it's free to play, you don't have to spend money. But what happened is if you spend a bit of money, you become stronger and you get that feel of I'm really good and that kick of, what's the word? Serotonin, no?
Yeah, it's serotonin or dopamine.
Whatever those chemical things. It feels good. It feels good effect, right? The way the game is designed is it's free to play, first of all, and it's community based. So you play with other people around the world.
Okay.
And then you start spending $5 and all of a sudden, whoa, I'm so strong now.
So why are you spending $5? How does that work?
Oh, you just spend a bit of money and you get all this item or all this bonus and you become stronger than other people, real people playing the same game.
Okay. All right. So
But then
it starts with a little bit of money.
Yeah. This is how the game is designed. $5, $10, $20. But then you see other people who spend more, stronger than you. And the only way for you to beat them is to spend more than them. So now you're spending $40.
Okay, talk me through this, because I'm imagining it's almost like the slippery slope type mentality of like $5. I could justify spending $5 on something if I enjoyed it enough. It's like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
It's $5.
Yeah.
Going to then 20, 40, like it's starting to be a little bit more on a game. But then I'm assuming you said off air before that there are some people that are literally spending like
More
millions.
than $1 million. Yeah. Yeah.
This just baffles me.
It's crazy. It's crazy, Todd. The game is, I don't know if I can call it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's called Last Shelter.
Yep.
So it's like a zombie theme game, like Walking Dead, if you know that show, Walking Dead. So you are like in this zombie, you build a city, your city gets stronger, and then you start civilization and you attack other city, and then you start a war. It's basically a war game.
Okay.
You're fighting against people, right? So there's that competitiveness, and people always want to be stronger, always wants to be stronger, always want more. It's addiction, basically, isn't it?
And how much did you end up spending on this addiction?
So I think $50,000 after over 2 years. Yeah.
Talk me through the moment that you realized this isn't good.
Look, I always know it's not good, and this is where sort of if you want to be positive, I'm grateful that my parents taught me the value of saving since I was a child. So even though I was spending a lot, I know that I have to earn more. Like I have to sort of what do you call it?
Keep your head above water?
Yeah, keep my head above water. Make sure I can still so I don't go bankrupt or things like that.
So you never did this on a credit card or anything
No,
like that?
no. Thankfully, no.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no. I know people who did and got divorced because of that.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's real. It's real problem. So yeah, and it's not just money, Todd. It's the time and opportunity cost. $50,000 you could have put it in shares and it would be like, I don't know, a lot, right?
A lot
or
more.
In property.
Yeah.
And also time. I was spending easily, I don't know, lots of hours.
How many? What, 2 hours? 5 hours?
Oh, more, maybe like basically 3 hours a day.
Wow.
Game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're spending like a part-time job equivalent on this.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you were in, from what you said beforehand, you were in Paris when the penny kind of dropped. Is that right?
Not really. So, but this is what I remember is I was in my honeymoon in Paris, and because the game is worldwide, so sometimes you have to wake up like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning.
What do you mean you have to wake up? Like you will lose stuff if you don't?
Yeah, because there's this like war that's happening during the time. It's a very time sensitive game because it's across the whole world.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to wake up to 2 a.m. in the morning to participate in those like call it event.
This is nuts, Richard.
And then what happened is I get so tired and then ended up staying in the hotel room during the day during honeymoon.
Yeah.
It's really sad, isn't it?
And this is because you had to get up at 4 a.m. to play the game?
Yeah, while spending thousands.
Okay. And this was when the penny kind of dropped, or you said not quite?
Not quite. There's more to that. I knew I wasn't doing the right thing.
Yep.
The penny dropped when I got back from my honeymoon, right? Back in Sydney.
Mhm.
And then I started learning about investing, not in property, in shares.
Yep.
So my good friend introduced me to share investing.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I started realizing, hang on a second, all this money I spent, if I would have invested before the COVID, you know how the COVID dripped all shares and then it bumped really well, how much money would I have now? Right. And I realized, hang on a second, what have I been doing until now?
So you realized the opportunity cost, essentially.
Opportunity cost. And what I did is, and being engineer, we play with graphs.
Uh-huh.
I go back to all my basically Apple receipt for the last 1.5 to 2 years.
Yeah.
Put a graph. We got, I think starting March 2019 or 2018, all the way until at that time, I start realizing, and then I put the amount of money I spent month by month. I realized it started with like $20, $50, and then the following month, $200, and then the following month,
Just kept
500
growing.
kept growing, like basically like a bell curve.
Out of interest, did you keep having more fun on the game?
No, because the game kept releasing new updates, and you need to spend more to become even stronger. And there's always people who spend hundreds of $1,000s and even millions.
So it wasn't like you got to thousands a month and all of a sudden it was next level. You were enjoying it more. It was just chasing the dragon almost.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, never ending. And I see a lot of my friends in the game started quitting as well. Like, oh, F this. It's just a bull crap.
And so then you've now done this spreadsheet looking at how much money you've spent, which I'm assuming comes to the 50, 60 grand that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, very close. Yeah.
and then your friends introduce you to share investing,
Yeah.
and you've kind of gone, what if I had have put that into shares,
Yeah.
I would have had X dollars, and that's the kind of the realization point.
That's right. Because this was in sort of May 2020 when I knew about shares. So market was already picking up.
Yeah.
COVID went down really bad and then it picked up, right? So I realized, hang on, market has grown like 30% for the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
If I put that 50K in that market, that would have grown how much? 30% of 50 grand. So
It's
15K.
another 15, so 65.
It's a lot for doing nothing, right? For just so my friend was like an angel coming here. Hey, there is this share thing, and I learned about compounding. I always know what compounding is, being an engineer, but never know the application of it, right? And that's when I realized, hang on a second, what have I done to my life for the last 2 years? Yeah,
Can you talk me through how that felt?
it's like a slap on the face, or maybe I don't know, a jab on the stomach. And yeah, I started spending so much time researching online, YouTube, learning about investing, and then I came across property because they are sort of next to each other, share versus property, you know. And then I learned about property, and there was this guy called Graham Stefan, a famous YouTuber based in America. So he talked about shares, but one line I remember vividly, he said, "In real estate is my favorite investing." And hang on a second, I thought share was amazing. This compounding, you can become millionaire by doing shares. And then I started consuming his content, American based. And then he talked about the blueprint of property, how you buy one house, it grows in value, cash out, buy the second one, cash out, buy the third one in such a very short period of time. So that's when I learned about portfolio building through property.
And what year was this?
This was late 2020,
Late
mid to late 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so from there, you've gone, all right, I've got an opportunity, or I've missed the opportunity with a few things previously. I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm educating myself on shares, on property, moving forward. You ended up buying a few shares and moving forward with that a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit, not much. Yeah.
Okay. But then you started working out that property maybe was a little bit more of a powerful tool to move you forward financially. Like what drew you to property?
Yeah. So I got slightly distracted with e-commerce.
Okay.
Late 2020. So my wife and I, we just got married and we wanted to start a family. But her preference is for us to buy our own PPOR first. So we have security, right? Because of what I've done, we sort of delayed because we don't have the deposit. We do, but sort of not the place where we wanted to live, right? So we kept saving, and then I got distracted to e-commerce. But that was made a bit of money, but that wasn't something I really enjoy doing. And then we stopped that end of early 2021. We stopped doing that. And then we bought our first property in February 2021. Yeah, in Sydney.
And that was a PPR?
PPOR, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that kind of like the springboard of like, okay, this property stuff's real now, or had the investing side of it not really clicked in yet?
That was buying for lifestyle. So that's the beauty of property. And we overpaid during that time.
Okay.
Not so much, just a little bit. At that time, we overpaid, but you know how Sydney was early 2021. It was sort of halfway or at the beginning of their growth.
So this is kind of the incredible thing about your story, Richard. So we've already talked about how you've grown up. Mum's been a big influence on the savings side of things. You've obviously got an incredible work ethic. You're a very determined man. Now, we're getting to 2021 and you've got one PPR. We're now recording this late 2023 and you've got a $5.2 million portfolio.
Yeah.
That is insane. Can you start talking us through how things grew so quickly? Like, did your e-commerce business explode, or like what happened?
Remember how earlier I was telling you my life pattern seems to be like I do well. I felt like I'm on top of the world, and then I stuff up, and then I bounce really quick.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the pattern, and this is what's happening now. Basically, I thought I did well with my career progressing really well, and then I stuffed up with all this gaming addiction, and then this is where it started to bounce back. So what happened was we bought our first PPOR with the mindset of we buying for lifestyle, so it's okay to overpay. But in the background of my mind, I also know about this property portfolio building from that YouTube video I watched, right? But I don't really know how to do it. I just know the concept, but I don't know how to do it. What I realized was we bought it for 1.2, our PPOR, February 2021. And I realized similar houses were selling 1.3, 1.4, 1. It just like, holy.
Doesn't sound like you overpaid then.
Well, back then we overpaid, but that was what the market was doing.
Oh,
And
you're saying like later on.
yeah,
Gotcha.
like
Okay, yep.
in a very short period of time, the next person overpaid, the next person overpaid,
Yeah,
the next
okay.
person overpaid. So,
Yep.
and then we realized this is the power of property, the power of emotion. Like people just overpay, and now we did valuation, and our property grew a lot.
Yeah.
And so what happened? We started our investing journey in early 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think mid to late 2021, we were spending money on like furnitures, because we just bought our first house. I wish I had some direction back then, because again, opportunity costs in 2021, but that's okay. I did take a course, and we made our first action investing in February 2022. So bought something in Perth, less than 400K, and that's in February 2022. And should I just go through?
Yeah, like how did it sort of like grow from there?
Because it's pretty vanilla after this. So February 2022, we bought it, and then we bought another one in April 2022 in Cairns in Queensland.
Okay, and so the Feb 2022 one, what was that?
Just a standard 4x2 in the city of Kwinana.
Okay.
Probably one of the most undersupplied market at the moment.
And what did you pay for that?
380.
380.
381. Yeah.
Okay, and then you got something in Cairns, did you say?
Cairns, yeah.
And when was that?
That was April 2022.
Okay, so you're not waiting very long. We're talking like a couple of months.
No. And this is the time where I couldn't get any lending from major banks because I was doing self-employed job.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, I think going back to the determination part, right? If I really want something, I will give my best. I'll find a way. And I want people listening to this to sort of apply the same concept. If you really want something, if you know that's the way, do whatever you can to get there. So that's what we did. So we went low doc documents, very high interest rates. People were paying 2%, 1.9%. We were paying 4.5% for these two houses.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Right.
So you were taking a risk.
Taking a short-term risk, calculated risk, right? So
Okay.
that's April 2022.
So this property in Cairns, what would that be worth now, and would you pay for it?
This is actually one of our underperformers. So we paid 465, and it's because I got a bit too emotional. It comes with experience with investing, right? So I saw this property, got mountain backdrop, like looks really nice.
There's some beautiful pockets up there.
Yeah, very well marketed, very green. We paid 465. Probably could have gotten 455 back then.
And what do you reckon it'd be worth now?
Next door just sold 550.
Okay.
And ours is a corner block. Next door is not. So I'd say 540 to be safe.
So I see what you mean. Like it hasn't done explosively well, but that's still done well.
Yeah, double digits still.
Yeah.
Within a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, because and that's the thing. This is April 2022. We're not talking that long ago, really. Like it's a year and a half. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so from there, how long until the next purchase?
That was April 2022. Next one is July 2022.
Okay. So where are these deposits coming from then? Because are you extracting equity, or how's this working?
No, we didn't extract equity because we were in fixed rate.
Yeah.
And we couldn't extract the equity back then because we were doing self-employed.
Okay.
So I think it's a combination of good saving and decent income, I'd say, because we don't spend too much as well.
Your wife's on a decent income as well?
She's okay, yeah, 100K-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. And also being self-employed, you are in more control of your cash flow. And we consulted with our accountant just to make sure we're doing the right thing. And he said, yes, we're doing the right thing. So yeah, that's the thing with running a business. You are more in control. Just more works, but more opportunity in a way, right? So
yeah, okay. So you've talked to your accountant, and you basically used some of the money within the business.
Yeah.
Like, and I know we've got to delicately talk about this one because obviously it's a very personal thing. And I always say this is not financial advice. Please seek independent professional financial advice. But this is genuinely like you have to. Don't ever just play with this kind of stuff yourself. But so you've got an accountant in your corner that you've got enough trust with to go, okay, we're okay with like borrowing funds with the business or things along those lines.
Yeah. So I do my projection, my numbers. I'm a very spreadsheet number driven person.
Yep.
So I show this to my accountant. We sat down and, hey, I'm trying to do this. Can you please cross check and make sure we are doing the right thing and we're not breaking any rules?
Yep.
And he said, yeah, you're fine. Do it. So we did it. So basically cash is king. So, and with companies, you have more control of your cash, and we make use of that opportunity to buy assets, appreciating assets.
So Richard, can you give us a bit of like more of a 30,000 foot overview? I don't want you to go into detail because everyone's situation is so different, but Talk to me a little bit more about how this control over your cash flow and kind of property, how do they meet each other?
Yeah. So basically, I think business owners can relate. But when you run a business, you are in total control of your revenue, money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is not financial advice.
Please see independent professional financial advice.
Correct.
Yep.
But the very first important thing is understand your obligation, right? As a business owner, you have to pay whatever you need to pay. At the same time, there is this small time frame where you can utilize smartly and carefully, where you perhaps, because you have access to those cash, you make it work harder for you. You make the money works for you harder.
Okay.
And that's by investing, right?
Okay, so this is about strategically pulling funds from the business for like short periods of time, but then replacing funds again, that kind of thing.
Correct. And that's sort of what we did. So we put in my whole number in the spreadsheet, discussed with my accountant, which I fully trust. And he said, based on that, you're fine. You're doing the right thing. Okay.
And I just want to make another point of this as well. If you're a Sparky, you own a fish and chip shop, you're a small business, like whatever you do, talk with your accountant. Please don't just think, I've just listened to a podcast and like Richard's done this, I'm going to do it. It's like get some very specific advice, because by the sounds of things, that's exactly what you did.
Yes.
And I'm sure once you actually start learning about the specificity of it, you start going, wow, this is something that can work really well, but I'm assuming can also backfire on you if you don't do it correctly.
Correct. There's some risk attached to it, and that's where the reward comes from, and it worked with me. So a lot of tradies, they thought they have a lot of income, and then they start buying Ford Ranger or Ute.
Yep.
Sometimes they don't know it's not their money, right? So don't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't do that, but don't do that. So
okay. So as far as the financing side of things, it wasn't that the business was doing smashingly well, or that it sounds like it was doing well, but you were very on the ball with like, how can we make the most of what our situation has? You spoke to your accountant, you got some very good advice by the sounds of things. You understood the risks, and then you went, okay, if we can manage these risks, we can potentially have some rapid growth. So then by managing that risk correctly, you've then gone from PPR with, what was it, 1.2, then a place in, what was it, Perth for 380?
In Perth, yeah.
In Perth, then Cairns 465, and then what, another 2 or 3 purchases after that?
On the same year?
Which is just in general. How many properties are you up to in the portfolio now? Rentals, actually, not properties, not including PPR.
So 7 investment properties. So that year, we go July, another one in Perth, in the Kwinana again. In the neighboring suburb.
And are you doing anything to these? Are you renovating them? Are you developing them? Anything?
Just buy and hold. Just buy. Not too old, not too new. 4x2, decent land size, good rental yield. Yeah.
And are you getting to a point, or is your wife getting to a point where it's like, wait a second, this is pretty quick. Are we doing this right? Did doubt ever come into it, or did you feel like you found the formula and you were just going with it?
So wife, when we bought our second, was like, slow down, you're buying so many houses here. Are you sure you're doing the right thing? But then I show her the number, right? And I tell her, I welcome her discussion as well with her. So we can, sometimes the best decision comes from questions, right? So
you're both very much on the same page.
Yeah, I take the lead charge. Maybe she's just the 2% signing the papers. I'm 98% of it. So,
yep.
Yeah.
But we normally find in a good team, there's a cheerleader and a leader. So it sounds like she's more the cheerleader.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Was it you?
Well, that wasn't me. That was Justin Zhu. We did it. Is your partner a financial fit?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
It sounds like Jess is a financial fit for you then.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you got to property number 2. She was a bit like, oh, I don't know about this. You went through the numbers. You both got on the same page. And then you just kept growing.
Yeah, we bought the third one in Perth again, as I said, in July 2022. Oh, the other thing that worked with me was because we were with a certain bank, because Jess works in the bank. So this particular bank allows some, better financing for us. So we can leverage higher, and we take out some equity from the first 2.
So is that, I know that there's some deals where they let you do like a 90/10 LVR without any LMI.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one?
With the yellow bank. Yeah. So
yellow bank. Which bank?
Yellow. and we did that. So, and the property grew. Like the first 2 we bought grew by not too much, because it was only been a few months, but we took some equity out of it. And that allows us to buy the 4th one, December that year, 2022.
Yeah. Okay. And so then you got into the fourth one. And then how many purchases this year then? That was 3 then this year.
So far, yeah, 3. Yeah.
3. Okay. And what needed to change to keep growing? Were you just using equity from the first 4 or how did that growth come about for this year?
My last purchase, that deposit fully came from the first and second property.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where it becomes easier now because the only challenge is borrowing now. But because we've passed that financial year and we had a very strong financial, and we did all our finance like July 1st, all done lodge.
Yeah.
So now we open up our serviceability again.
Okay.
So we can keep on going until, I guess, no one wants to lend us.
And are you on second tier lenders yet?
Only one. That was property number 6, investment number 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so where to from here? Are you going to keep going? Is this like Richard setting the world on fire, you're only just starting? Or is this like, nah, Jess and I are taking a knee now, we're good?
Just for everyone, the reason we go aggressive is because we stuffed up. I stuffed up, our earlier time. So we felt like we need to bounce back really quick. And we wanted to accumulate before our firstborn came, which just did. And, negative gearing child, there's a saying.
Yep.
So, and that's why we did it. So from now on is we want to continue to accumulate. And that's not because we want to be greedy. That's not the reason. There are many people who've done much, much better than me, no questions doubt. The reason we want to accelerate our journey to financial freedom. My first goal is to retire my wife because we want to have another child if we are given the opportunity to. And even from our first child, it's more than full-time job for her, right? It's actually more than being a banker, full-time mom. So I felt like, and I think that's what she wants to do as well, being a full-time mom, and I want to make that happen first and foremost. And also for me, like I want to retire early in the sense that I want to do things that I want to do, not because I have to pay mortgage, that's the reason why we want to continue our accumulation. And obviously we are very confident in our method. We follow a very systematic approach and cross-checked with other professionals. So we are very well calculated and we're helping others to do the same.
Are these properties all in trusts or your own names? Or?
I think 3 in trust now.
Okay, so a bit of a mixture.
3 in trust, yes.
3 in trust.
Yeah.
So what I normally look for whenever I'm talking with someone is like, what was their kind of secret sauce? What was their thing that if you took that away from them, they wouldn't be where they are now? And I feel like yours is almost too. It's the determination factor, because if you didn't have that, one could argue though that that's a key for everyone, but I think it's a big part of yours. But for yours, it wasn't we developed our way there, we renovated our way there, we hotspotted our way there. For you and Jess, it really sounds like we were so on the ball with finance and getting creative and looking outside the box to go, how can we do this? How can we make the absolute most of our situation? And you just absolutely mastered the finance side, which just in case if you're listening to this going, ask more questions, Todd, open this up more. Yeah. I hear you, but I really do respect Richard on this side of things because it is such a personal thing, and not so much personal as in like your personal business, but just what works perfectly for one person could be disastrous for another.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this thinking, how has he done this? That's the line that I want you to start really chasing, because maybe you've got a situation that you can't renovate, you can't develop, you can't like put in sweat equity, you can't hotspot, whatever it is, but maybe you could chase that similar kind of path that Richard's gone down, because this kind of growth is insane. Like it really, I thought I grew my portfolio quick, and then you and I started talking. I was like, Jesus, mate, this is good. But the creative financing side sounds like that's the key.
I think that's where my strength is. If you have like a graph, where's your strength? Finance is definitely where I'm strong at. I'm a very spreadsheet driven, number driven person. In my property number 4 or 5, can't remember, the one I bought last year, I did try to do sweat equity, do renovation, right?
How'd that go?
Didn't work out. So property was vacant for 1.5 months. Anyway, the number didn't work out. It wasn't feasible. So we thought, look, rather than spending 30K, 40K to renovate this old house, let's buy another one. And that's where the finance in me, like really popped out, and like we can do it. Let's buy another one. So, and maybe renovate this property later on, maybe in 5-10 years when it's all exhausted, all
Mhm.
so you make the most out of it. So yeah, finance is definitely where my strength is. I speak to a lot of people. There are people who do, they call it BRRRRR
The
strategy.
Burr method, yeah.
Yeah, is
The
it?
buy,
Yeah.
renovate, rehab,
Right.
repeat, yeah, or whatever, yeah.
Sounds like you're very cold, bro.
Yeah.
And people have different strength, right?
Yep.
And but for me, I think it's the finance, the numbers behind it. It's a game of finance, right?
Property's just thrown in.
Yeah.
So, what's an action step for someone that's listened to your story, that's been inspired by this, that's been inspired by rapid growth, by the determination, maybe even been inspired because they've got to their point, of their 20s, their 30s, wherever it is, and gone, yeah, I actually made some pretty bad choices on some other things. It doesn't have to be a game addiction. It can be whatever it is. Mine was vodka in my 20s. But what's your action step for someone that's really resonated with your story, Richard?
Look, get educated. That's very important in the property world. You want to make sure you know what you're doing, or speak to the right people as well, and calculate your risk if you want to take action. But that's the most important thing: take action, right? So I didn't my deals, like if I for my the last 8 properties we bought, it keeps getting better. Like my first investment property was okay, and then second was a bit overpay, and then third one was okay. But then I listen to your podcast, get educated, and see what other people have done, right? And then you keep getting better and better, and that's through education and taking action, isn't it? You get better and better. If property, you can either learn it yourself or use professionals. There's many ways of dealing with it, but you are basically the owner of your financial future, so you better start looking after it. Take action. So,
You're the owner of your financial future, so you better look after it. I like that. I love it. Richard, we've arrived at arguably the most important question of the entire show.
Yeah.
I need to ask you, what is your favorite pizza?
Okay, I'm gonna blame my parents and my wife on this,
Okay.
but I love Costco pizza.
Oh, how good is it?
Yes.
I'm totally with you on that.
There
It
you
sounds terrible, but
Has anyone said it?
no, actually,
I'm
I think you're the
one.
first.
And you agree with me. That's good.
They're good value. They taste
Yes,
great.
meat lovers.
And they're huge.
They're huge. Yeah, and normally you get really hungry going to Costco
Yeah.
because wife spend hours there.
Yeah.
Do you have Costco here?
We do. Yes.
Oh, you do. Yeah.
I don't really go to it much though, unless I'm with a friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had Costco slices quite a few times before,
Yeah.
and that used to be my hangover food when I did have a Costco membership years ago. And when I drank, you'd have a big Costco pizza, put it in the oven. It was wonderful.
That's right.
I like it. I thought you were going to say, because being Indonesian, there's actually, I'll show you a photo right now.
Yeah.
When Bianca and I were in Bali just the other day, we go there quite a bit, and it's a wonderful place. But I remember having this first experience when I was in Thailand, and I ordered just a vegetarian pizza, and they came out and they gave me technically a vegetarian pizza, but it was quite literally, I'll show you the photo here.
Vegetarian pizza.
Can you just describe what you're seeing on that pizza there, Richard?
Oh, okay. So this is like pizza with corn and beans, and looks like a drawing, a 5-year-old drawing. And you've got, what's this? Sasa?
It was in, we love going to supermarkets in different countries. It's kind of just like
This is
fun thing.
Indonesian.
That's in Bali.
Halal. Oh, there you go. Yeah, ketchup.
I thought maybe that was like an Indonesian thing to put like peas and corn on a pizza.
Not me.
No. Okay.
Not me. I'll stick with my Costco.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meat
Good
lovers,
choice.
barbecue, and Coke.
Oh, mate. Look, Rich, thank you so much for coming on the show today, mate. I really appreciate you sharing the stories, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. But is there any final words of wisdom or anything you'd like to leave everyone with today, mate?
And just maybe for everyone, and for you actually, Todd, like, thank you for doing this, and thank you for inviting me as well. As I said, what got me here is a podcast like yours. That's a big part of my success journey. There's a saying: surround yourself with people like-minded, whatever. Every morning going back home, listening to this kind of podcast, it's like surrounding myself with people who are doing the same thing. It feels so normal now. Owning so many properties feels so normal. Like, it doesn't feel like, and I'm not saying on top of the world, but it feels like many people are doing it, right? So, you don't have to be like earning $1 million to do this. Australia is getting a bit longer, but Australia is we are very privileged because of how finance works here. You can have people paying so high in rent, right? and your interest rate is relatively low. Like 6% is considered high.
Mhm.
Wait until you go to Indonesia, you're paying 15% over 10 years.
Yeah, wow.
10% over 10 years, and the rent is so low. This is an opportunity for all Australians. So yeah, make use of it. Yeah.
Do you think people like you and I live in a bit of a bubble? Because I agree with everything that you just said then.
Mm.
But then I feel like we could talk to, if we just walked outside the studio now and stopped 10 people on the street, they would wildly disagree with what we've just said.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're right. I feel like it's not this whopping massive thing anymore. It's like, oh yeah, cool, well done. That's just really good.
Yeah.
Like, but I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and he was like, yeah, it's because you live it and breathe it. And I think that's probably the big takeaway that I just get from you now is if you do live it and breathe it, it's something that I always say is normalize, don't idolize.
Mm. Normalize.
Yeah. Because when it's normal, it's not impressive anymore.
Yeah.
But you can actually reach your goal sometimes a lot quicker if you just look at it and go, isn't this just how it's done?
Yeah.
Opposed to sitting on a pedestal.
And like, oh, that's not possible. That's not possible. But actually, it's possible because that's what your surroundings are doing the same.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't become unreachable anymore. It becomes so reachable.
Mm.
And you have a podcast like this, Facebook groups, property chat, where you can discuss ideas. And some of your guest speakers, they are in a less fortunate position compared to myself in terms of they earn relatively low, but they have done much better than me. And that's because they took action earlier, right? They took action and they had the right guidance and the right mindset. Whereas I'm still very grateful where we are now, but I sort of wasted my early to mid 20s not doing this earlier.
Same.
Yeah, but that's okay. Everyone has their own journey, and everyone can achieve where they want to get. Yeah.
Well, and you've just shown that with some focus on the right strategy that fits for your situation, you can achieve it in a very short time frame as well, Richard.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for joining us, mate. I'm sure we'll see you on the show again soon.
Yeah, exciting.
Probably at 10 or 20 million.
Maybe. I don't know.